So, hello guys. I just wanted to do this very short after the fact introduction that I was recording the video and I was going through the sections and then I made this discovery. It was really interesting discovery. So it completely changed the tone of the video and it became something else unexpected. So the discovery was that I put two and two together and saw that the Russian sanctions are basically the Russian sanctions that he lifted have everything to do with this deal that he's working on for Iran. And that's the excuse, right? That he's working on the civil nuclear energy for Iran. Remember? It was a piece of news I talked about earlier, like a week ago from CNN, and I saw that the language is the same. So it's really very fascinating that he's actually lifting the sanctions so Russia can get paid. That's what this is all about. Get money they need from Iran. So anyway, so just letting you know that it's sort of like about halfway into the video. Do I realize all of this? So I'm just giving you the beginning, uh, the summary at the beginning. Okay, all right. So thanks for watching, and then from now on, I go back to the regular programming. All right, thanks for watching. Bye. Hello, everybody. Roses are dancing you. Okay, so I'm looking for what my glasses over here, then they disappeared. Okay, so it's a little awkward here. My office is very small. I turned on my walking pad. I have a walking pad to see. I had need to get 10,000 steps every day. So, but the problem is it's so small. I just had to get rid of this cabinet. It's on the way. I told the WeWork people to take that out of here because there's not a lot of room. Anyway, that's why I have this awkward position because I'm there. I put the computer on this like standing thing that looks like a music stand, but it's not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just because it's a little awkward. Okay, but now today we have a subject of the Russia sanctions. I have to laugh because it's not really that funny, but very awkward. But here we are. But let's do protection because it's a heavy subject. I like to ask for protection. A beautiful array of lights coming up the head. As I breathe in, I fill my lungs. As I breathe out, I create a circle. I create a circle. Step into it. I step into it. I feel protected. Step into it. I feel connected. I like to ask that information come only from the highest sources. That it create the good and only the good. The good for the good people. The good for the good people. Okay. All right. So this is Artem Kaliushin. He's definitely one of these oligarchs, and he's somebody I remember from the first Trump administration. He was definitely giving orders to Iran. Okay, so I was just like, and I go check out his profile from time to time, but lately it was all these very dark images putting fear into people about some sort of nuclear thing. But I replied something like, Artem, when is Trump going to ask the US military to defend Russia? We are waiting for the big reveal. Because really, right? That's what we in here in this group see. I see, right? Karina sees it. And but then this concept of the big reveal, that's what I'm thinking, right? If they're planning to do that at some point, they got to do it. But what what they're doing now, the soft way of doing it is that they're removing these sanctions. So it's very convenient, don't you think? Don't you think? Okay, let me see here. Okay, so stuff share. So I was throwing him. I was throwing him. I was telling him, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know you're the tank. So, but really, it was like it was my way of coping with the situation. No, but really, what? Just what was this? Jesus, something. My nose. Sorry about that. Something I didn't notice. Sorry. Anyway, so I was gonna. Sorry, that distracted me. I hope we didn't distract you. Um, so going back here. So why did he post these? What to me feel like threats, and did it have any impact? Telling them that we know doesn't matter. It's saying no. I see that they have these conversations over there, saying, "Listen, all of them, you have to scare them. We have narrative. We own narrative. We say, get scared, get scared, because we're going for them. We have to get into their heads. It's more important. Get ahead." But guys, really, this is funny, right? So, haha, a little bit. But what I'm getting, it's so crazy, right? Is how important propaganda is for them, and how it's. I got the impression this guy he uses it to make the people that have taken money from it make them scared and scare the population and dictate the conversation. But so much of it is psychological. You know how I say sometimes, to be careful when whatever it is that you're watching, and make sure that it's right, that watch out for what you're thinking, what you're believing, because this is how important the psychological aspect is for them, and that's what they're doing. They dictate the narrative, and they want people to believe it. And in a way, why don't we do that? Right? We have to keep affirming the truth that we know. They're affirming lies, but we're affirming the truth, which is the Kamala is president, and that even though we don't know it, we know we don't see it quite yet. That's how uh, we have to keep going. Okay, all right. So then, um, the other one, let me show you. So does it? It they're it's saying it shakes them a little bit when people tell them they know what they're up to, but it doesn't stop them because they still think that, even though, guys, when you think about it, like for example, we know that it's not a secret that they interfere in elections. It's not a secret that they do terrible things in Ukraine. But what's unusual about them, and particularly evil, is their ability to lie about it and create propaganda around it. So they will not give up, because to them truth is malleable. And but it's saying it weakens them a little when you say, we understand your game, we're not afraid of you. But they're doing what they've been taught for decades to do. Okay. So, all right, so let's see. One more. So this one is probably a little hard to see because I made the screen so small. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Your European bureaucrats need to pay attention to what Daddy Trump is saying, not to what quote unquote incompetent Joe Biden used to say. And this is a video of Trump saying Vladimir Putin made some nice statements that he respects our country again. Okay. And then I asked, Putin is going to release the Trump compromise. We're waiting with bated breath. You know he hasn't done much to help y'all with Ukraine, right? What are you waiting for? Soon enough, Elon will share the truth about how he connected with you guys to flip the election for Orangino. So before I go to the looking into the Russian sanctions, I want to show you what I was doing. As I was telling you guys earlier today on the first video of the day, when I talked about the bill, big, beautiful bill, I was telling you that it was kind of hard over the weekend, right? Because you kept seeing these awful things happen, and you get the impression that we're close to the end. How long it's going to take, we don't know exactly. But I kept thinking, hey, let me go tell them, let me go show him, I'm going to show him. So I go to those oligarchs that I follow, and I was telling them, when are you going to send the military here? When are you going to go? When are you going to go send the military? We're waiting for you. Okay, let's see. Let's see. My God. Let me show you 1 second, and then I'll show you. I'm going to link to the actual post, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have a question about what this person meant by this comment, and how far do they think they are? Does it make sense? Because of course, I on top is the comment I made that I just read, but why does this make sense? Why do they make why are they putting this stuff out on Twitter? And how far do they think they are into controlling or influencing America? Okay. Okay, so let's see. I see it pushing this, kind of like very aggressively pushing it out because that's what they want. And they're truculent and violent. And they're like thugs. That's what they are. Okay. He's just pushing it, ramming it in because they know they don't have a lot of time. They need a lot of money. And they see this as a directive to people like Trump, who they own. But I see that they're pushing it out very aggressively, but it's very far from what the situation really is. Even though I see that, of course, with this movement, Trump is signaling to them that he is doing something to benefit them. It's just not enough because their situation really is quite desperate. Okay. So that's what I see. Wow. Yeah, I see this guy pushing almost like a piece of furniture onto it looks like a stage, and he's pushing the piece of furniture stands for this narrative. But then I see that he looks down on his feet, and the feet have been cut off, or part of the feet, the toes have been cut off, kind of by the weight of the narrative, his own feet. But why? What does this mean? That the push is so aggressive that they end up hurting themselves. So are they close? No, they're not. And it's saying when you write these things, it makes them stressed out because it seems far from them. The need is very immediate. They need a lot of money, they need a lot of weapons, and they can't quite get it, not in the speed they need. So there's a lot of desperation, and they feel that their lives are in danger, locally, especially actually, because they know they have a lot of competition for power. So there's this, I see, pick up the sense that they're not, they don't feel good at all. They are grasping for breath, and this guy can barely sleep. He's that scared. Okay, so even though it may seem as if they're winning, they're not really. Okay, so all right, so let's go to the reference. Okay, so now we're ready to go to this, specifically to the Russian sanctions subject. Now, I separated four different articles to discuss this because there's a lot going on. And when we look at what Trump has done now, it feels exasperating, but at the same time, there's a lot of other things happening that are very bad for them. So while it may seem as if, wow, look at what, obviously, he's doing something to benefit them, that's not news to us, right? At all. But I wanted to show you that there are other things going on as well. Okay. So let's look into these separately, and then we'll get to the questions. Now, first, the top one is what Trump has done, right? Which is lifting sanctions that allow transactions with sanctioned Russian banks, including Sberbank, VTB, and even the central bank for civil nuclear projects. Now, remember, guys, this is actually wow, wow, wow. Now I'm getting something big that I forgot, an important detail. It's so significant. Okay, wow, guys, big, big, big. Let me pause because I have to find. And now I understood everything. I understand everything. Let me pause because it's so big. Because you know what? As I'm reading this, I just got it. You know how Iran has everything to do with Iran. So remember, I was talking about something I found, and it's a very recent video because this thing just happened. There was a big article, I think from CNN actually, I remember, that discussed these, um, like the deal that Trump wanted to do with Iran. And it has everything to do with it. It mentioned exactly civil nuclear projects. And it sounded so shady, right? Because why would that happen? Why would it happen? And then next thing you see is that Trump lifted sanctions exactly on this thing. So it tells you that the whole story, it's even more obvious that the sanctions that were lifted have everything to do with this whole BS that this deal with Iran, because it tells you that the deal with Iran would mean that money has to transit to the Russian central bank and all these Kremlin related banks, right? So that tells you that when they wanted this Iran deal to close, about some random civil nuclear project that has everything to do with Putin and nothing really to do with Iran, right? Does it make sense? So very interesting. All right, so let me pause and find it and just focus on this particular thing because it's big. All right, it's big. So that's so guys, this is a legit bombshell that I have just figured it out. I think no, really, this is incredible. I'm just shocked. And it goes to show I have a really weird memory. I have an amazing memory with language, related to language. And I, with ADD, have something called hyperfocus. So what it means is on subjects that you really care about or pay attention to, you remember a lot of details that other people don't. So I was reading out the information that Lev Parnas had put out about these sanctions. And it was amazing because I recognized the wording from a separate article that I had read on CNN about deals that the Trump administration wanted to do in Iran. And everyone knows at this point, right, that Iran and Russia are very close. And so now we have in the language, we have the clue here. I'm just going to read here. Lev saying Donald Trump lifts sanctions on Russia, allowing U.S. transactions with sanctioned Russian banks, including Sberbank, the VTB, and even the central bank for civil nuclear projects. And you can see that the language, let's see, because it's so small here on the screen. Let's see. And then I lined and read the language from the Treasury saying, for civil nuclear energy are authorized through blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what does this mean? It means that the money that there's going to be U.S., like, there's going to be some money laundering, whatever you call it, money transfers going through Russian banks into the central Russian bank from this so-called civil nuclear deal. In other words, Trump, this is a big scandal, you guys. Trump has basically uh, allowed, like, lifted the sanctions so that he could go through with his shady Iran civil nuclear deal that would, in fact, only go like. Do you understand what I'm saying? We know that a lot of the technology that went to Iran came from Russia, and this is huge, right? That this is Russia is in dire need of money, and they are creating this BS excuse to transfer money to Russia through this Iran deal. You understand? And also, to be fair, there's a lot of hundreds of more than $100 billion supposedly of frozen Iranian money because of sanctions in U.S. banks. But we see, does it make sense? it's like, why would Iran need to transfer money to the Russian central bank? Think about it, right? Very shady. So I wanted you guys to look at this. It's just, and this is not psychic, no, it's just actual putting two and two together. Okay, now let's ask. Now let's, and this is one of those situations where the way that this started is very different. Like the way that I started reading the news, well, I kind of had an idea where what was going to cover, but then I found out muy por house. So here we are. But no, it's exciting. It really is. So now I have different questions to ask. Okay. All right. Let's pause for now and get to the questions. So, guys, I was so excited about this that I forgot to just read to you the language. That's how I connected. Okay. The language in the article about the Trump administration and nuclear research. Okay. So here it is, the first paragraph of the CNN article. The Trump administration has discussed possibly helping Iran access as much as $30 billion to build a civilian energy producing nuclear program, easing sanctions and freeing up billions of dollars in restricted Iranian funds, all part of an intensifying attempt to bring Tehran back to the negotiating table. Four sources familiar with the matter said, right? And then the other piece that I read, all I do is to search for those words because I remember it, right? Among the items being discussed, which have not been previously reported, is an estimated 20 to 30 billion investment in a new Iranian non-enrichment nuclear program that would be used for civilian and energy purposes. Trump administration officials and sources familiar with the proposal told CNN. One official insisted that money would not come directly from the U.S., which prefers its Arab partners foot the bill. Investment in Iran's nuclear energy facilities has been discussed in previous rounds of nuclear talks in recent months. In other words, right, what they're doing is that they're enabling the transfer of funds between Iran and these Russian banks. And they even said it here, right? If they're saying this directly, the sources for this article are saying, right? So that's it. That kind of tells us this whole thing, and it exposes what trash has been up to. Wow, it's really I am like investigated. So I had selected other articles to discuss, but I'm just like, wow, kind of shocked about this. So let me see if I will discuss them. Okay, let's see. I have more questions about this. Well, now that I have given you the facts, let's go to questions. So now, guys, that I've put the two and two together, but I'll do myself. No, really, but I have barely had the chance to even formulate questions because I had, as you saw earlier in the video, I had separated that's right the section related to just the other sanction situations that Europe was working on and all that. And now it comes out that this is happening. Okay, so it's huge. It really is. So then let's ask the questions, right? So I hear the title, Russian sanctions bombshell. Trump lifted Russian sanctions related to several nuclear projects so he could siphon Iranian money directly to the Russian central bank. Correct. Say yes. Say that yes, indeed, girl. Now let's go to then the questions related to this. So will this be exposed to the wider public? Not just the news here in the US, but all over the world. You say yes. It's pretty obvious. It's saying they're trying to do it on the down low, but it's very obvious what they are doing. And I see that Trump is so upset because he tried to hide the fact. Like, remember how intelligence agencies, even Tulsi's, said that the threat wasn't as bad and that we, in fact, we had not destroyed whatever it is that they wanted to destroy. That's part one. So as it comes out, it becomes clear why. So yes, exactly. He didn't. He did it to make. It's like this was smokescreen for what the goal really was. right? So the idea is like if we say we attack Iran, then we nobody's going to suspect that we're actually helping them and helping Russia on the down low, because we know here that Russia is in dire need for cash. And this would be a way for them to get cash from Iran, right? So everybody's, situation is everybody's hand. You watch my back, I watch your back. That's the idea here. So is this why Trump lied about attacking Iran and destroying their nuclear capabilities? Yes, of course it is. He had to create. Oh, well, I don't know him. You met him, no. So, oh, okay. So, yes, indeed, yes. And then the next really interesting question is, does Bibi know this? In other words, does Bibi know that Trump had a deal with Iranians and Russians to say, oh no, we're giving them the civil nuclear thing so that I could, so that he could actually pay Russia. Because in a way, it's like, did he betray Bibi, or was Bibi in on it? Okay, so let's see. Okay, I see that Bibi was adamant that he was insisting that he attack Iran. He didn't want to, but he thought there was a way to attack Iran and look like the good guy while also helping Russia on the down low. So he's basically playing. So yes, he was playing both sides. And I see that Bibi is like, oh, okay, well, as long as you just send the bomber. But now it makes Bibi look ridiculous, look like the fool. Okay, so it does embarrass Bibi. I see. In fact, okay, all right. So let's continue. So will Russia get their hands on this money? I see they may have gotten part of it, but it's not nearly enough for whatever it is they expected to get, because it becomes a huge scandal. But you saw it here first. Oh, I'm excited, excited. Okay, very interesting. All right, so guys, I'm not gonna get into the details of the other articles because I think this is huge relative to the others uh, for now. But let me ask, what is, because we have a bill in Congress that Lindsey Graham is pushing to put more Russian sanctions down, and we have European sanctions that are rolling out this week or something. Okay, so what's happening? Yeah, I see this. It shows me this huge cannonball crushing Putin, and it somehow gives me this number 83%, meaning 83% crushed and 13% win. So at the end, there's a lot more harm that comes to Putin through both, I think, this American Congress bill and the European sanctions. So it turns out not to be the big one he was expecting. Okay, so that's good news for all of us. So that was that. Wow, a very interesting day today. Oh, the little hope was appearing here. I haven't seen him in a long time. Boris Berezovsky. Those of you who were with me for a long time, I've done Boris. What was he? I came here to tell you. I knew that it was going to last forever. Sooner or later, he dig a hole too big for himself. He cannot get out of it. We're celebrating. We're celebrating because finally it's time for him to get comeuppance. So I feel interesting from him, from Barry. He's on the other side. By the way, just pause here to put his name if you're not knowing him. That's the name I'm putting here, his name down, because if you're not familiar with him, he used to come to see me and from the other side. And I see he's like, finally feels that he's like, it's upon us. His end is near. Hoopton. Rosie, I feel so calm now. It feels amazing. It looks like in the near for him. It funny looks like it. I died in shower, but it was him. Everybody knows. It was him who got me killed. It's true. By the way, he was found in a, I don't want to get into this. I don't want to, as you guys know, it's very heavy stuff, but I don't want to get into this. But he was found in a shower or something. Like somehow he hung himself in the shower. No, I see, and it's showing me that there was this, as though he was garroted, quote unquote. I don't, you don't need to, there is no, not knowing, not needing. So, so he was harmed in that way. And it's saying, but fine. And I see that he is, I'm pretty here, Rose, now, not worried like I was worried before. I did bad things also, true. But I feel good, better knowing the end is dear for him, and is near for him. Thank you for telling my story, Rose. I know I love to talk. You know, I love to talk. I love talking. Everybody who knew me knew I love talking. I was always talking. I had a big mouth. I was a little guy, but big mouth, big charisma I had. So, and anyway, and by the way, guys, also if you're interested in this subject, a lot of so Boris Berezovsky, he was an enemy, right, towards the end, and he had a lot of businessmen that connected to him in the UK died. All of them died, very mysterious circumstances. So for entertainment purposes only. Okay, all right. So let me pause here, and then and then and then release. All right. So thank you guys for watching. See you soon. Bye.